War is geared to offense. Firepower is everything. But what happens when the rounds are incoming? You're going to need a good defense. And that's what armor does for the soldier. Helmets are a critical part of his protective system. Everywhere the soldier goes, his helmet goes with him. But at the start of the 20th century, armies thought helmets were a sign of weakness.
By 1914, most armies didn't even like the idea of wearing helmets. Not helmets that are going to stop or deflect a bullet. The army considered the helmet to be an emblem of cowardice and to kill offensive spirit.
But armies decided they had to offer some protection. The British equipped their troops with the Brodie, the Americans with the Doughboy.
This is the style of helmet that the British and Americans wore. And it's positively medieval. This was the type of helmet that was worn in the Middle Ages by archers.
You'll notice the shape of the helmet is very flat. And the reason for that is it's not to protect against rifle bullets being fired from the front. It is to protect the head and shoulders and neck from shrapnel balls or shell fragments that are fired up in the air and explode.
Concerned about troop losses, the Germans came up with an innovative helmet design that rapidly reduced the number of head wounds being suffered in the trenches.
They adopted in 1916 the Stahlhelm, steel helmet. And as you can see, it's also known as the coal scuttle helmet because of its shape.
German designers take on the idea of building a helmet that gives full peripheral vision, but still maximum protection to the head. In order to do this, you take a bucket that comes down far enough to protect the occipital lobe at the back of the head, and then you cut away all the parts where you want to be able to see. The result is the Stahlhelm.
The Stahlhelm was one of a number of helmet designs that emerged on the battlefield.
Bashford Dean was the curator of arms and armor at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. And he was a classicist. He dealt with Greek and Roman helmets and that sort of thing. But he was contracted by the American government to design helmets during the First World War. And one of the helmets he came up with was this. And it's positively Greek in style. And it's a very, very good helmet indeed. A couple of problems with it, however. One, it looks very similar to the German helmet of the period, and here's the German helmet. And the other problem with it is that once you had this on, you could not see, nor could you hear very well.
Go! But 70 years later, the German design was back in fashion. The reason? Soldiers need to see around themselves on the battlefield.
When the United States decides to get rid of their old washing bowl helmet in the 1980s and get a more protective helmet made of Kevlar, they use the same kind of methodology. The U.S. Army says we want to cover the maximum amount of the head and we want to cut away enough so that you can see.
Helmets have evolved. Different needs, different shapes. And in the 21st century, they face new challenges.
We're not facing someone who's shooting at us quite near as much. What we're facing is IEDs, improvised explosive devices, suicide bombers in vehicles. And so that threat is no longer the bullet, but it is blast forces.
The pressure is on. If body armor doesn't adapt to the new danger, an attack could end in tragedy. The modern U.S. combat helmet is good at stopping bullets, but it has one major flaw.
This original helmet has what's called a web suspension system, which keeps your head from contacting the Kevlar. It has a single 2-point chin strap, but frankly, it's not real comfortable, and it's not very stable. It can wiggle around a lot, up and down, side to side, left and right.
Hey, let's go! Hey, their vehicle's on fire! Get down!
Medics from all of the services complain about the fact that when they run up to a troop and they've got this helmet on, they run up, and what do they do to take care of someone? They lean forward, and the helmet will slide down into their eyes. So to take care of someone, they take the helmet off. Now they're uncovered. We upgraded the helmet, and that upgrade system consists of a 4-point chin strap. The second part that we provide is a padded suspension system, and there are 7 pads that go into this helmet. I can hit this helmet really, really hard, and I am not hurt. If I were to sustain a 200G impact with this helmet, you're going to the hospital, you're not going to be feeling well for a while. There have been cases where someone should have survived an impact injury. Turns out that they didn't because the helmet itself, it becomes the killing instrument. With this helmet, with the pad suspension system in it, that same hit generates 78 Gs through to the brain. That's a mild to no injury zone.
Since 2004, Mark Metter's charity, Operation Helmet, has shipped over 30,000 helmets to soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq. Comfort and safety. The modern helmet delivers both. In the 20th century, a new breed of maverick inventors would try to apply these principles to body armor. Their motivation? Soldiers put their lives on the line. So should we.
Every body armor ever made since ancient Babylonia can be penetrated. And if you know how to make a body armor that can't be penetrated, please God, tell me.
The same is true of helmets. They give soldiers confidence. But how effective are they?
First, we're going to try a 9mm pistol round on 2 helmets, an M1 from World War II and a United States Kevlar. Well, I'd say he has quite a headache, but it didn't penetrate. The Kevlar also did not penetrate to the inside.
The bigger dent in the older helmet poses a real risk of brain damage. While the M1 did not give the best protection, it did have its advantages.
As you see here, then you can actually use this as a foot bath or to cook soup and this type of thing in if you have to. And soldiers weren't supposed to do that because heat or fire underneath would lose the temper or weaken the steel, but they would do it anyway.
Shooting the helmets with a heavy caliber rifle has a devastating result.
Next, we're going to try an 8mm Mauser from World War II. As you can see, it's gone all the way through one side and all the way through the back. And with the Kevlar, it's gone through the front and through the back.
Even the modern Kevlar didn't withstand a 60-year-old rifle. The wrong gun, the wrong angle, the wrong distance, and you're dead.
Since the helmet doesn't protect from rifle fire or close-fired pistol bullets, you might ask, why wear a helmet?
I think the wearing of body armor does make a psychological difference. It doesn't make soldiers feel invulnerable because there are bits of them which aren't covered, but it does make a difference.